Nick,
Yeah.
what is a thematic Euro game?
Well, it's like you take a Euro game.
Yeah, you're right.
And you have a theme on it, but the theme isn't just like, it's not like pasted on, it's like a part of the game.
It's integrated? So
Yeah, but like,
the Euro game's integrated, but what's that mean?
well, so
Thematically
the
integrated?
theme is like, it's like a blanket,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
but like, it's in the blanket.
Warm and cozy.
Yeah.
Pigs in a blanket.
Yeah. What's up, everybody? My name is Nick.
I'm Mike.
This is kind of a hard concept, a thematic Euro game.
Right, so Euro games are kind of generally defined as, and it's not a perfect definition, but they're
No.
defined as games that prioritize strategy and tactics over luck and randomness.
Yes.
Okay, so this in the past has led to some games that are very much strategic games, kind of having a theme that's a little bit of a snooze fest. Like, we love it, but it's kind of like farming in X place, and you're like, that's neat.
Cool, Castle Burgundy. You're like, cool. Like,
right,
the
but-
theme is fine,
Right,
right?
but
It's
sometimes
like,
there's a theme doesn't pertain to what you're actually doing in the game
it's just
at all.
there.
But we always have loved games that are more Euro games that have well integrated thematics.
Mm-hmm.
So the theming, the setting of the game really comes through in what you're doing. It makes
Yes.
sense. And if you were doing this in real world terms, like what you're doing in the game makes sense based on its setting or theme.
Yes, exactly.
So that's
But
what we're
still
talking
Euros.
about
That's
today.
generally what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we love Euro games. We really, really love highly thematic Euros. So this is our top 10 thematic Euro games.
There's nothing quite so thrilling as a human pyramid, especially when those human pyramids get very, very high in the sky. And Castell is a game that celebrates this phenomena. Castellers in Spain make humongous human pyramids. You should look it up on YouTube because it's incredible. And there's a game that's all about going around the Catalonia area of Spain, doing performances and trying to build the best human pyramids you can. And you can recruit Castellers and do all sorts of things. So this game does really satisfying thematic stuff in a couple ways. One, you have to go from city to city to perform. The performances are only in city to city. You have to kind of get there. And if it's on the whole other area of Spain, you can't just bop over there and teleport. You have to kind of march overland to get there. As you go to these different cities, there will be different Castellers that you can then recruit to your troop, which also feels kind of thematic. Like you're going to a town, you hear there's like a really strong base person, and you can find that person and have them join your crew. You can do all this training, and the training works in a couple ways. Like you go to different cities, and I always picture it as like you're training with a master in balance. And as you have more balance, as you have more strength, it allows you to build bigger pyramids. And this is things that you would have to work on in real life. I would have to work on my balance if I'm gonna be way up there in the sky, stepping on people's heads and shoulders and stuff and trying not to tip over the whole thing. My balance had better be good, so I need to train. So there's a few things like that that are very satisfying, and it makes this just a really thematically interesting game while being very puzzly, because the way you build these pyramids and scoring can really burn your brain. So the thematics, I think, and them kind of being dealt with realistically makes this game great, and that's why it's our number 10.
Our number 9 is Feierabend, or Finishing Time. This is actually a game by Friese. It's actually available in the BGG store, so check it out there. This is a game all about going back to work, and you work in a factory and your working conditions like aren't great. Let's put it that way. You have really, really long, like 80-hour work weeks. You don't get paid very well. There's a bad wage gap. It's all sorts of bad. And so, this is a worker placement game where you essentially are trying to get relaxation. You have your workers, and you're putting them out on these 3 different boards. One board is about vacation. You can strike in this game. You're striking for all these different things: better working conditions, less hours, more pay, all this kind of stuff. And you can strike for vacation. So you can strike for vacation, so you can send your people on vacation. You have to pay money to do it, but nonetheless, you get relaxation, which is the points in this game. You can go to the park, you can exercise, go fishing, go on a nice motorcycle ride, and you can get relaxation that way. You can also go and get a partner, and then you and your partner can go out and do stuff, go to like an amusement park together, and again, you have to pay a little bit more because you're paying for you and your partner, but you get even more relaxation when you do so. So you're basically trying to get as relaxed as possible. But then once you're out of workers, all your workers then have to go back to work. And when you go back to work, you get very, very stressed out because you have bad working conditions. So it's this 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of game where you're just trying to get as relaxed as possible before you have to go back to work, and you're gonna get hit back. But hopefully you're not hit back as far as you were, and you're kind of doing this, going back forward, but you're slowly moving forward, and it just really, really works. And all the worker placement spots make sense in terms of what you're doing, and it just flows really, really well. And it's so fun because everything you're doing, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna go to the pub, I'm gonna spend some money, but I'm gonna get some relaxation because I'm having a few pints with my friends. And it's just absolutely great. Check out Finishing Time. It's really, really fun.
Number 8 is Stone Age, and this is, for my money, the most sneakily thematic game of all time, because this is a game where you're an ancient tribe of people, kind of at the dawn of civilization, and you are doing a dice rolling and allocating workers to different areas to build buildings, to work on agriculture, to get different cards for set collection and stuff like that. It's kind of early life. And so this is really thematic because early in the game, it's hard to come by food. You have no agriculture to speak of, so there's no guarantee of being fed. So I need to go out and hunt for food to make sure all my people can get fed. But as I do work on agriculture, maybe I don't need to spend so much time hunting because now I'm growing food. So this allows me to use my workers for other things. I can develop tools because all the game has to do with dice rolling, but the better my tools are, the more I can guarantee my successes in the game, which makes sense because if I have better tools in real life, I'm going to have a better result as I try to build a thing or do a thing. You can go around and try to get gold and wood and brick and stone, and it's harder to get gold than it is hard to get wood, because I always think of it this way. It's easy for me to go outside and pick up a stick. I can't just go outside and find a gold nugget. That's not going to happen. I need to allocate more resources, more workers to this task. It's inherently harder. So it's very thematic in all of these ways, in the way that it all kind of breaks down. And as your kind of tribe progresses, you can start to have more workers. You can join more workers because now it's easier to feed your people, so your population can grow. That makes sense. You need to have kind of food taken care of to have more people. So it does a very good job, and that's why Stone Age is our number 8.
Our number 7 is a game we talk about constantly. It's one of the first games we got, and that is Dungeon Petz. And one of the reasons why we got it is because we love the theme. In this game, you are a dungeon pet owner. You are owner of a monster pet store, and there are dungeon lords coming through town. You're gonna try and sell these pets to them because they want big monster pets. Super cute theme, super cute art, but it's kind of got like a big, heavy Euro game underneath it, and worker placement. Worker placement tends to work really, really well for thematic Euro games. A lot of things in this list are gonna be worker placement for that reason. But nonetheless, this game, everything you're doing on the main board makes sense for the theme. You have to go over here, and that's how you get new pets to raise. You can go over here and get food. Food is what you need to feed your pets because they have to eat. You can go over here and get new, bigger, stronger cages because as your monster grows, they're gonna get stronger. They'll be trying to break out, and so you have to have nice, cool cages. You can also get a cage like a playground so they can play in the playground and have a good time. You can go here and clean up poop because monsters are pooping. That's how it goes. You can get add-ons for your cages. Everywhere you go makes total sense for the thematics of the game. And then on top of that, you have a pretty decently heavy worker placement game underneath all of that, and it just works. The whole thing with this game flows well, and despite the fact that it's a slightly heavier game, the light theme and the light nature of the whole game really constantly is breathing life into the game while you're playing. You're like, oh my gosh, how am I gonna get all this stuff done? I have to take care of all these pets, it's really hard. But then you're like, oh, but look how cute all this is. This is so cool. And that kind of light theming goes such a long way with a game like this. And just every part of the game just works and works with the theme. It just, oh, I love Dungeon Petz. We talk about it constantly, and I don't care. I love it. It's great. It's our number 7.
So number 6 is Ex Libris. I love to read, and this game is all about running a library. And so it's really fun, and we always think of it as pretty thematically integrated because you have to kind of go from location to location. You're trading books, you're gaining books, and you are trying to build out kind of a really impressive shelf of books. And it works out because you need this shelf to be in alphabetical order. All the best libraries have an order to their books so you can actually find stuff. And me having a library, I'm going to have kind of a prominent work, something I like to feature. So it might be like history books and things, and Nick might want monster manuals. And so we have kind of different things that we're trying to do. So it's this kind of puzzly game of getting these books, but you have to kind of put them all in order. You have to build ideally a nice tableau of cards that would be structurally sound, because these are kind of shelves of cards. And so it really kind of satisfies in a few ways like that we really enjoy, and just always have loved the fact that this is a game set in a monster, kind of fantastical world, but you're just running a library. I love that blend of kind of magical world, mundane Dewey Decimal System. It just works for us. So Ex Libris is our number 6.
Number 5, there's actually a couple different games in this series, so really choose any of them. That is the Evolution series. Evolution, Evolution Climate, Evolution Oceans, they're all great, and they all fit their theming very well. This is a card game where you are going to be making new species, and your species are going to be evolving. You have a species, it has basically nothing on them, but you're like, you know what? I'm gonna throw some horns on it because there's some carnivores around. I want to protect myself. But then you're like, you know what? Over time, I want a really long neck, because a really long neck allows me to eat before other people. Because I have a long neck, I can go and grab some leaves like that, and boom, we're good to go. And so you're constantly changing out traits on your species and evolving them. And that's really, really cool, because that's how natural selection and evolution works. Certain things work, certain things don't work. The things don't work, go away. Things that work, keep on going on, and hopefully your species can survive. And so just everything you're doing in terms of like trying to eat food and trying to put these traits on and constantly adapting to the situation of the board, where all the people, you're trying to adapt what other people are doing. If someone's a carnivore, you need to start protecting yourself against a carnivore. Everything you're doing in the game makes sense in that world of like, hey, you're trying to evolve to be as good a species you can be, so you can eat the most food, which is points. And evolution is great, and just, it all makes sense, and it's wonderful. I love it. And also the art is just so good. The art's so good. Evolution is number 5. It's wonderful.
So number 4 is The Pursuit of Happiness. This is a game all about living out a life and trying to be as happy as you possibly can, creating the most long-term happiness. And in this game, there are many ways to achieve this. That's kind of the point of it, is that there's not just one path to victory, to success in life. You can do all sorts of things, and if they make you happy, that's good. So I love the messaging right there, but this game does a couple of really interesting things with its resources. Because you have money, because if you're gonna buy a bunch of items, you gotta have money to pay for all that stuff. If you're gonna work on projects, you're gonna need to use creativity, you're gonna need to meet people and have influence and things like that. So the way the resources work makes sense for the projects and the types of things that you are doing with your life. And then also your workers are simply time. You only have so much time on this earth, and this game is all about how do you use the time you have available to you. And if I get into a really high-paying job, if I'm the president, for example, before I start each round, I have to commit some of my workers, my time markers, to that job, because that job is going to take up a lot of my time. I don't have as much time for hobbies now. I don't have as much time for projects and working on this book that I want to do. I'm the president. My agenda is quite full. And so all these things make sense. And the more you kind of get into these longer term commitments, they can bring you a lot of happiness, they can bring you a lot of resources, but they are going to take a lot of your time, which in some ways or many ways is the most precious resource of all. So we love that kind of balancing point of all the various types of resources in the game. And of course, love the fact that you can do just about anything. And if you do it well, you're gonna be happy. So it's really about, with this one, what kind of life do I wanna live? And trying to create an interesting game, not just like the optimal best game mechanically. I'm just trying to look at have a good time, like in real life. So that's our pick, Pursuit of Happiness.
Our number 3 is a wonderful game called Shakespeare. Shakespeare is a game close to our heart. We're both big theater nerds. Mike, again, went to theater school at UCLA. That's what he does. He's an actor. And so we love Shakespeare and love this game. This game is, again, very thematically tied to the mechanics. Again, it's action selection, worker placement type game, but everything you're doing is you getting ready to put on a play for the queen. Whatever play does the best, that's the play the queen is going to go see. That person then wins the game. You're trying to gain prestige points. But throughout the game, you're getting different actors and actresses, and they are famous people from Shakespeare. You have like Lady Macbeth, you have like Puck, all sorts of different people. And you can also go and build a set. You can build a big old set. You can kind of have like a minimalist set. The bigger the set you have, the more prestige you get. But this is one of those games where you kind of can't do everything. You can't build a giant set and have everyone in the most lavish costumes. You can't do all that. You kind of have to either do a little bit of everything or go heavy into one thing. Speaking of costumes, every single person that you have has to be fully costumed, or else they're not going to be part of the show. They're not going to go out there in street clothes. They need to have a costume. And so everything you're doing in the game makes sense for that theme. You're off getting a set, you're off getting a costume for your people, because your people can't rehearse and they can't perform without a costume. And it just works really, really well. I really love this game. And this game, particularly with the backstage expansion, is a little teeny little micro expansion that just absolutely completes the game in the best possible way, because now you have backstage and you can go backstage and do stuff, and there's all sorts of cool things. Shakespeare is really wonderful. If you like theater and if you like really tough games where you have 10 things you want to do, you can do like 2 of them, and you like that kind of tension in the game where you're trying to figure out what to do with the little resources you have. Shakespeare is wonderful. So check it out today. It's on number 3.
So next up is a wonderfully thematic game called Photosynthesis, where you are playing as nature. You're sort of nature. You're trees. You're just controlling different types of trees in a forest. And this is a game that works very well because your kind of money in the game, your resource is light. And it's all about collecting light and then how you spend that light to grow trees, to spread your seeds around, to grow new trees, and to eventually have those trees kind of die off and enrich the soil for the future. So this one's really cool in a couple ways. Again, having light in general as your energy and how you spend it is fantastic. And then you actually have a sun that moves around the board, and it will cast light on different trees. And those trees, as they stand big and tall, are gonna potentially cast shadows behind them and might leave a smaller tree behind it in the shadow, meaning it does not collect light. And that is how it works. The biggest trees grow the best because they can get more sunlight than trees that are smaller than them. Trees that are behind them, they have an advantage. So this is one that really does a good job of kind of being scientifically satisfying, using how light works and how trees generate their energy from that to then use and kind of be tactical, because nature is kind of brutal. Like you gotta push and shove your way to gain an inch in nature. And so in this game, it's very much the same. I have to have the biggest tree around so that nothing casts a shadow on me and I always gain light. And if other trees, even if they're my own trees, have to be in the shadow, so be it. That's how it's gonna work. So this is a beautiful game. Very stunning because it comes off the table literally as your trees grow. And as you're playing, all the things that you're doing are very much reinforced by the theme. So it's just almost perfectly integrated. And that's why it's our number 2.
Our number 1 is my favorite game of all time, and that is Viticulture. I really, really love Viticulture. One thing I like about Viticulture is I think all the actions you're doing in the game really reflect the theme. Viticulture is all about winemaking, and you are running a vineyard, and you have your own little vineyard, own little kind of part where you keep all your wine, keep all your grapes, and there's a big vineyard in the middle of the board. That's where all the worker placement spots are. Again, worker placement works well with Thematic Euros. But every single spot on the board makes sense for the theme. You can go and build new structures because you need to build bigger cellars. You can build a big windmill. You can build like a wine tasting room. You can build a trellis. You can build irrigation. All that makes sense. You can plant new vines. You can get new vine cards. You can have visitors come into your park and you can play those visitors and they will give you bonuses. Once you have your vines planted, you can then harvest your grapes. And you get your grapes and you put them on your little crush pad, and then you can go somewhere else and you can squish them down into juice, and you can turn that juice into wine. And that wine then will age throughout the game, and then you sell that wine to fulfill wine orders, which is the majority of your points. Every single part of the board just makes sense inside that theme. And again, that kind of linear path where you plant your grapes, you harvest them, you squish them into juice, you make some wine out of it, you fulfill orders, all that makes sense in the game. So the whole through line of the game makes total sense for the theme, and it just works. I love it. It's my favorite game. I can't help it. I love it so much. Ever since the moment I first played it, I was like, this is my favorite game of all time. And it still is many years later. I absolutely love Viticulture, and that's why it's our number 1.
So that was our top 10 most thematically integrated Euro games. Again, as all those definitions work. Those are games that when we're playing it, I'm like, you know what I'm doing in here, everything makes sense.
This makes sense. I'm going to this spot because that actually makes sense for the theme, and the mechanics work well together. It's just great.
It's fantastic. Let us know what your favorite, what you would consider a Euro game that's very thematic and really feels central to the game, put those in the comments below.
Yeah.
If there's another list you want to see us do, please put that in the comments below.
Yeah.
We're always open to suggestions about lists and things that you want to see. So let us know. And until next time, I'm Mike.
I'm Nick.
And we'll see you in the next top 10.
Bye, everybody.